explain briefly, very quickly, what that was?
Yes.
Yeah,
The Galwan crisis took place when the PLA made a series of incursions across what is called the line of actual control, which is the de facto border between India and the PRC, because it's a disputed border and the dispute goes back to the 1950s. And despite 22 rounds of discussions and negotiations, the progress has been genuinely glacial.
Okay, and so, I mean, I want to get to questions in a moment because there's only a few minutes left, but the fear of abandonment point that you made, Sumit, and again, this is for all of you, the fear of abandonment that the US will abandon India, I think we can be pretty clear that regardless of what the optics and the mood music is, India will not abandon the United States, right? I mean, there is no other possible sort of country that's going to come in that border conflict situation with China.
How do you base a good, mutually beneficial relationship on the basis of fear? I don't agree with Sumit, this abandonment issue. I mean, who's abandoning who? We are doing what we are doing, US is doing what it's doing, our interests align. The counterweight and the containment of what you said of China is not just one country, one government, one geography. It has to be done in a conducive environment, in a collaborative environment. And I think a point I want to make about the US, I think what we need to do more is more data sharing, more counterintelligence data sharing, real-time data sharing, and being able to help each other in things that we need to do so that we are able to do and achieve our common aims and objective. China is our neighbor. It's our largest trading partner. We have border issues and serious ones. We still have a relationship that cannot be wished away. So we have the most to gain and lose when it comes to counterbalance and containment issues. And like you mentioned, China is doing that, the encircling. It's death by 1,000 cuts. So that's something that it bothers us much more than bothers the US. So I don't think there's an issue of abandoning each other. It has to be more realigned and more constructive cooperation.
I didn't bring up abandonment, just want a bit for the record. Very briefly, Sharia, what is it that India wants from the United States? I know what you're talking about now. You have to talk about it. You didn't really want to be talking about it. Anya mentioned in the introduction that this 4-day conflict between India and Pakistan in May, but that was China enabled. A lot of the Pakistani military riposte and the clash. This was with Chinese military technology, right, which is integrated. What would you want to be actually talking about with the U.S. administration now?
I think before I answer the question, that I'd like to say that from India's perspective, we talked about Kissinger and before that. I think it'd be great if the United States and India have a long tradition of shared values and they're natural allies. I think the United States' consistency in not letting the values be violated for tactical interests. There have been elements of that with the US's foreign policy outreach over the years, which does create a certain amount of circumspect behavior within the Indian establishment that, for some tactical interest, will the United States abdicate its long-term value-driven policy will remain a matter of concern. And this incident about in Pahalgaon and the Sindoor was one such example, and you talked about subsequent lunch with the Pakistani chief. As Sachin rightly pointed out, there was an act of terror, clearly defined. We both agree that terrorism cannot be taken as just lying low, and therefore it must be repulsed, and you must go and find the source of terror and do exactly what India did, was to try and neutralize the terror threat where and wherever it emanates, because terrorism is something that is not a fair way of extending state policy. So to that extent, then when you do something which may be in the tactical interest, and tactical interest may justify it, I think it creates a situation where you start asking the fundamental question that, what is more important? Is the fight against terror more important, or your own tactical interests more important?
Okay, we've got time for a couple of quick questions. The gentleman there in the white shirt. And just sort of a staccato machine gun sort of.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Appreciate the panel. My name's Krishna Gal. I work here at UBS in DC. So my question is a little bit of a tough one. So obviously Canada has recently released reports about the assassination or alleged assassination of Khalistani nationalists in Canada. I was wondering if the panel could touch upon that. Thank you.
Who would like to take this placid question? Sumit.
Sure. I have the least to lose. Yes, there have been a series of allegations and charges about Indian complicity in the killing of this separatist. The Khalistani movement is a movement for the creation of a separate state, which is predominantly Sikh people who belong to the faith. But that movement, for the most part, has collapsed. It enjoys support in the Sikh diaspora in various parts of the world, but within India, it's only the dying embers of the movement that exist. In fairness, I have no idea the extent to which the Indian government was complicit or not. I cannot comment on that with any authority, but I will say that the Canadian government, particularly under Trudeau, was oblivious to repeated Indian expressions of concerns about the existence of this movement, some of whom are actually involved in criminal activity to support their work and to try and foment this movement again in India. And consequently, that had strained relations. But I cannot comment with any authority on the extent or the actual complicity of the Indian government in killing this individual.
Thank you, Sumit. Yes, here. And quite sort of brief, because I'm...
India avoided condemning Russia's invasion of Ukraine, abstained from votes within the UN. If you think so, how do you think this affects India's credibility as a U.S. partner in the so-called rules-based order?
Sachin?
Well, we took a very clear stand. We don't stand for violence against war, and we call for ceasefire and peace. Beyond that, we haven't interfered in the global platforms, whatever the US may have done and Europe may have done, but we are very clearly for peace and against any violence. And you learn the most about the future from the past. From our own standpoint, India has never been an aggressor, so we don't believe in aggressive policies.
So, well, we've got 10 seconds. Does somebody have like a two-word question? Yeah. Yeah, and a one-word answer.
Georg Schäffler again. Can you comment briefly on the European and EU-Indian relationship also in light of India as a counterweight maybe for China?
Not a 30-second answer, but I'll try my best. Look, the European Union, I think, is also grappling with a new reality. They have many challenges, economic, demographic, and I think the outreach from India is substantial. We hope to have more collaboration, and I don't think we should think about India-European relationship only with the context of China. I think everything doesn't move around China. We have our own mutually beneficial relationship that we must foster and deepen, clearly. But I think India is very, very keen as a country to explore, to deepen people-to-people contacts, economy, technology, all of that. But it shouldn't really be viewed with the prism only of containment and counterbalancing China. But I think Europeans, you make a move, we'll walk more than halfway.
That's a good high note on which to end, a very complicated but overlooked important subject that you've done a great job in covering. Thank you so much. Please join me in thanking you.